Commentary. Comment blue. Commentary. Comment Burgundy Blue. Commentary. Blue. Commentary. Burgundy. Commentary. Commentary.
Hey guys, hope all is well with you and yours. Welcome back to Burgundy Blue Commentary. So you guys, I want to come to you and tell you what happened. So I was out with my client. So my client treated me to lunch. So we're on the north side of Chicago, so this ritzy area. And she was like, she went to go get our table. So I see this woman, like she's very prestigious, beautiful hair. And I'm like, man, everybody's looking at her when she walk around. And baby, she had on St. John knit. Okay, she had on the expensive stuff. So my client come back and she noticed me looking. And I'm like, where I know this lady from? And she's like, oh, that's Kathleen Zellner. And I'm like, huh? She's like, Kathleen Zellner from Making a Murderer. I said, it sure is. Steven Avery lawyer. So that made me think I had never followed up on what happened to Steven Avery and his nephew Brenden. And I was just wondering, have you guys wondered what happened to them? Because that was a show that we watched, even though this is people's lives, not trying to make it like that. But this show I watched forever. And I mean, series after series. So two seasons. And I thought that Kathleen was going to come in and get him off. I really did, because she was breaking down that evidence, right? So you guys, if you didn't know, spoiler alert. So you guys, oh my goodness. So Steven Avery, back in like 1985, he was accused of SA and attempted unaliving. And he had a 32-year-old sentence, right? So then he was exonerated by DNA testing that was released in 2003, only to be charged with unaliving someone 2 years later. So you guys, he got off with they found out he did not do it. And it was this huge thing that after Steven Avery was exonerated, they started looking more into Manawak County and looking more into the state of Wisconsin on how the criminal justice system, you know me in my speech, is. So they really, really, really got down to the nitty gritty, and the county was mad. The DA, all of them was mad. So he filed a $36 million lawsuit against Manawak County and the former sheriff and the former district attorney for the wrongful conviction and imprisonment. In 2005, with his civil suit still pending, he was arrested of the unaliving of Wisconsin photographer Teresa Halbach. And in 2007, he was convicted and sentenced to life without the possibility of parole. And he has never been able to get his case heard again. So, you guys, it was this whole thing where people thought that the county was after Steven and that they were really trying to nail him. So these filmmakers went out there and they spent 10 years making a documentary that we know today as Making a Murderer, several award-winning documentary. Okay, so this is the thing. He brought, allegedly, but his nephew was also charged with the unaliving of Teresa Halbach, because he confessed at 16 on video that him and his uncle committed this crime. But this is the thing. He was interrogated for a while, and his words were, the interrogation was leading, like they were trying to get him to say anything. And this is the thing. He sort of had a learning disability. So his mom attests to that. His dad attests to that. So he was convicted of first-degree intentional homicide and second-degree SA. Also mutilation of a corpse. He has life in prison with the possibility of parole in 2048. And this was the thing. When he was being coerced, and he has his own sets of lawyers, he's still in there. He thought that if he just admitted to it, because of his learning disability, allegedly, he thought if he just admitted to it and told them what they wanted to hear, he could go home. It was banana. So it's been appeal after appeal after appeal. Okay. So let me tell you where that case is now. In walks Kathleen Zellner. We just knew she was going to get to the bottom of everything, but she's only Steven lawyer, and Brenden, he had the Innocence Project working for him. Also, he had lawyers from Pritzker School coming to actually try to get him off. Yep. And then people would sit up there and say, oh, I support Brenden in the family, and then they would retract their statement. It was so crazy. All right, so let's read where they are now. And like I said, if you want to hear a breakdown about Avery, the Averys and the Dasseys, let me know in the comment section below. Also, I want to know, do you think Steven did it or not? I want to know. Steven and Brenden. Okay, so this is where they are now. I'm getting this from the Post Crescent. This is also linked in the description box below. It says, 16 years since Steven Avery and his nephew Brenden Dassey were convicted of murder, court proceedings related to their cases continue. Most recently, on March 10th, a federal judge ruled in favor of Netflix and Making a Murderer filmmakers that the docuseries portrayal of former Manawak County Sheriff's Office's detective did not qualify as defamation. Oh, wow. Avery, now 60, served 18 years in prison after he was falsely convicted of a crime he didn't commit. In 2003, he was exonerated after DNA evidence identified the real perpetrator. But just 2 years later, Avery was arrested and charged with crimes in connection with the murder of 25-year-old Teresa Halbach. Dassey was charged as well for aiding his uncle in Halbach's SA and murder. Both Avery and Dassey was found guilty after jury trials and sentenced to life in prison. Their supporters say Avery was framed and questioned law enforcement's motives during this investigation. The case received international attention after the release of Netflix Making a Murderer in 2015. The series has 2 seasons, both 10 episodes long, detailing the investigation, trial, aftermath, and post-conviction proceedings. Summary of the case. On October 31st, Teresa Halbach went missing. This was in 2005. She was a photographer for Auto Trader magazine. Halbach's last assignment before her disappearance was at Avery Salvage, the Avery family business in Two Rivers. That November, Avery was charged with her unaliving, kidnapping, SA, and mutilating a corpse after Halbach's death. A few months later, Dassey was charged with being a party to the murder, SA, and mutilation. At the time of Halbach's disappearance, Avery was the plaintiff in a $36 million civil lawsuit against Manawak County and former county officials for his 18-year sentence for his false conviction. When he was 23, he was convicted of the 1985 SA of a woman jogging along Lake Michigan and sentenced to 32 years in prison. Attempts to overturn his conviction failed from 1987 to 1996. Then in 2002, a judge granted the Wisconsin Innocence Project permission to conduct DNA testing that was not available at the time. DNA testing pinned the crime on Gregory Allen, a man who was then serving 60 years for another R-word in Brown County. In 2003, after 18 years in prison, Avery walked free. But Avery was again sentenced to prison, this time for life without the possibility of parole, after a jury found him guilty on March 18, 2005, following a 6-week trial. After Avery was charged in Halbach's unaliving, he settled his lawsuit with Manawak County for $400,000. Evidence against Avery included burned bone fragments in a fire pit on Avery's property, Avery and Halbach's blood in Halbach's vehicle, remnants of a camera and electronic devices in a barrel, and a bullet in Avery's garage with Halbach's DNA, and the key to Halbach's vehicle in Avery's bedroom with Avery's DNA on it. Despite the physical evidence, Avery has always maintained his innocence. Dassey, who's Brenden, on the other hand, told investigators in an interview that he, S.A. Halbach, he was present when his uncle unalived her and then helped burn her body and belongings. Dassey later recanted this confession. Attorneys for Dassey point out that as a teen with intellectual disability, Dassey was highly susceptible to suggestion. Despite a lack of physical evidence tying Dassey to the crime, a jury found him guilty after a 9-day trial in April 2005. He was sentenced to life in prison with parole eligibility in 2048. So where is Steven's appeal stand right now? Avery has filed numerous appeals and motions for post-conviction relief over the years, all of which have been unsuccessful. Avery's most recent motion for post-conviction relief, filed on August 2022, argues another man could have done it. His attorney, Kathleen Zellner, named the alternate suspect in the appeal and argues the suspect framed Avery by leaving the key to Halbach's vehicle on Avery's property. In the motion, Avery is requesting evidentiary hearing. In July of 2021, a state appellate court affirmed Avery's conviction and said multiple motions filed in Avery's appeal are insufficient on their face to entitle him to a hearing, and that the circuit court did not erroneously exercise its discretion, denying the motions to vacate and for reconsiderations. After the decision, Zellner asked the Wisconsin Supreme Court to review Avery's case, which they rejected in November 2021. Zellner continues to be vocal about her efforts to free Avery, often sharing updates on his appeal on Twitter. Oh, you guys, he's currently being held at Fox Lake Correctional Institution in a medium security prison where he was transferred to in June after the maximum security Waupun Correctional Institute. Okay, currently, now this is where Brenden stands. He has no appeals in the works. In 2016, a federal judge ruling gave Dassey hope for release, but upon further review, the U.S. Court of Appeals for the 7th District Circuit here in Chicago, Dassey's conviction was upheld. Okay? Let me tell you something. This is where we are. He's at Oshkosh Correctional Institution. Okay. They said they did not find that Dassey's confession to police was coerced. Okay, so here we have it. You guys, they still in there. Now, let me tell you something. I don't know about Steven, but for some when I watched all the evidence and they didn't even have any physical evidence of Brenden, I think he was innocent. That's my opinion. Now, Steven, I can't vouch for, but for sure, I don't think Brenden was there. Now, I think that Kathleen got to the bottom of who possibly did it in season 2, but nobody would hear the case. Isn't that crazy? Even when she put in that they possibly have more evidence to see. She even got like she had got like a dummy and put the weight on it, put the wig on it, did the blood test. She got the old blood test from 2005 where she thought that they had probably got Steven blood from, like, and tried to frame him. She got all these experts shooting and all this stuff, and nothing worked, but it still pointed to Steven possibly did not do it. However, here we are today. They are convicted. They are in prison, and I hate to say, it seems like Brenden is out of any kind of appeals. And because he has that tape confession, it's like he admitted on tape, so it's like nobody can really go around that. And then on top of that, it's no DNA could save him because they didn't have his DNA or anything. So y'all, I wonder with Kathleen, how far, like, where else does she think she could go? She's still fighting for Steven Avery. Side note, Kathleen, don't sue me. I'm just reporting the news. But on her website, you can donate to the cause to help with his legal defense. And also you could donate to put some on his commissary. And I'm like, okay, but how much energy are we putting into his freedom? Because we know that Wisconsin is not going to let y'all go any further. So is it any hopes of him being free? Steven has lost both his parents while he's been locked up. He's been engaged several times and had love letters, girlfriends. If you want me to cover that, I'll do that. Let me know below. But how much energy can Kathleen really do other than to take a phone call every week? What other kind of income does Steven need for a criminal defense if it's no, I don't know. You guys let me know in the comments. And Brenden, he's just, when I tell you his lawyers really, really tried, it's just at this point he got parole. That's it. Y'all let me know what you think. I'll see if I can find some more information on it. I thought that this was quite interesting. And if you wonder if it'll be a third season of Making a Murderer, there have been no announcements regarding the third season of the show. Okay? As always, take care of yourself and each other. Bye.